Okay, now we're on chapter 1, lesson 2, place value of whole numbers. Again, we're still looking at 5.NBT.1, which is understand the place value system. Before we jump into the homework, I'd like to give a broad overview of some of the vocabulary and things, skills that we'll be needing. And so we're going to start with something you're very familiar with, and you've probably seen maybe first or second grade, which is a 3-digit number. And the one farthest to the right is our ones, our tens, and our hundreds. Now, we know the ones, tens, and hundreds. So if you look at a number 308, we know that this is 308. We know that there's 8 small cubes, there are no longs, and there are 3 flats. 308. Let's say that there was the number 052. Here we're saying there's no hundreds. So since there are no hundreds, you don't have to say that place value. You could just say 52. 2 small cubes and 5 longs. So 352. Before I say the answer, I'm going to let you think about it. Okay, go ahead and say this number. 205. Good. I'm going to give you a tricky one. If you have no flats, no longs, and you have 5 small cubes, how much do you have total? Think about it. Say your answer. Good, 5. And last one. Think about it. Say the answer. 160. Okay. Now we're going to be jumping straight into what we'll be seeing more in 5th grade, which is 1, 2, 3, very similar to before, separated by a comma, 1, 2, 3 place values, separated by another comma, 1, 2, 3. Now, these commas are after every 3 numbers, starting from the right. 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3. What I see some students do is they put the comma in the wrong spot. Like, let's say that they have the number. Some people will go 1, 2, 3, comma. That's not correct. Remember, we start on the right side with the ones digit, and from there we go 1, 2, 3, comma. So the comma should not have gone there, it should have gone there. Okay, so that's one thing I want to first start off with. When you're inserting your commas, you start with the ones value, 1, ones, tens, hundreds, comma, ones, tens, hundreds, comma, ones, tens, hundreds, comma. And if we were to go farther. So ones, tens, hundreds, comma, ones, tens, hundreds, comma, ones, tens, hundreds. And that is a repetition. This is still the tens, this is still the hundreds, this is still the tens, this is still the hundreds, but in different periods. The cool thing about the comma is they separate periods, and periods is each group. So that you could think about this as group 1, which you've kind of studied from K through 3rd grade. This is group 2, which you studied more in 4th grade. And this is group 3, which we'll be studying more in 5th grade. The first period is our ones. And like we said already, it's ones, tens, hundreds. Now I'm going to give you a couple seconds to think if you remember what the second period is called. Okay, do you remember? In case you don't, it's the thousands. And this is cool because here, instead of saying ones, this is the ones period, this is going to be called thousands. Here is going to be 10 thousands. Here is going to be the 100 thousands. So you could see the repetition. Ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds. The only difference is instead of one, since this is the thousands, we added the words thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. In 5th grade, we're going to be starting the next one, which is the millions, if you want to be a millionaire. So this one, instead of saying ones or thousands, you take this name, which is millions. Then here, can you guess what it is? If this is ones, this is tens, this is thousands, this is 10,000s, this will be 10 millions, 10 million section. And then this last section, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. And you could see that repetition. So let's start with a number. Since we've already said 308, let's put 308, put a comma, and let's add one of the other ones we've already said. Now, this is the ones, this is the thousands. So when we say this number, this first section is the ones, the thousands, we have no millions. So you're not a millionaire yet. If this is all the money you had, if let's say I put a dollar sign in front of this and I said, you have this much money, you do not have $1 million yet. You're still in the thousands. And you'll say this just like you said this number. How do we say this number right here? 308, right? So here we'll say 308,000. So we're not actually going to say this S when we say it. We'll say 308,000. Now how did we say this number? We've said it before, 160. So together we'll say 308,160. So one way to write that is 308. So that's 308. 308. And all you have to do is put the place value it's at. 1,000. Then you put a comma and you put this number, 160. 1. And I ran out of space, so I'm going to continue here. 160. 308,160. And then since this does actually have a dollar sign, you could say dollars. Let's try another one. First off, I'll ask you, are you a millionaire yet? Yes or no, are you a millionaire and why? I hope you said no. And if you want to prove it, you are at the ones period here, and you're at the thousands period here. How would you say this number? Does it have hundreds? No. So you have 5 longs and 3 cubes, you'll say 53. Here, oh, so 53. 53 what? What's the place value? 1,000. So 53,000. So this is your 3-digit number. There's no hundreds. So you start with 5 longs and 3 small cubes. 53. But what place value is this at? The 1,000. 53,000. 53,000. And then what do we have here? We have nothing in the hundreds. We have 5 in the tens and 0 in the ones. So this is the number 50. 53,000, and just like these are separated by commas, when you're writing in word form, you're going to put a comma, just like I did there. 53,000, comma, because that's what it says here, 50. And the cool thing about the ones is if you see at the end, 160, you don't have to say ones. The only time you have to say the place value is for the thousands and millions. School is about to start, and so I'm going to continue this one either during break or after school. So hold on for now. Okay, before moving on, I just want to do a quick review. Memorizing this is very important. Just as knowing that 2 plus 2 is 4, you should know this just as easily. Ones, thousands, millions, period, each separated by a comma. Okay, now being able to look at a number and say the number, it's one thing, but being able to write a number that I say might be a little bit more of a challenge. And so what we're going to do in this next activity is I'm going to say a number, and then I want you to write it out. So we're going to start with the number 502,304. So go ahead and write what you think that would look like. 502,304. Again, the number is 502,304. Now, I'm going to start by showing my work. So I know that there's 3 periods. And in each of the 3 periods, there's the hundreds. Oops, am I even in the shot? The ones, tens, hundreds, the ones, tens, hundreds, the ones, tens, hundreds. So the first period is the ones period. The next period is the thousands. The next one is the millions. So when I said the number 502,304, we had no millions. So this number will not have anything in this section, which means at the most it would have 6 digits at most. Now, we said 502,304. So let's break up that first period, 502,000. So here's 1,000. 502,000, that's what we're going to write in this section. 502, because this is in the 1,000 place value. 500, period. 502,000. The next part of it was 304. So there's 502,304, and the 304 goes in the ones place. 304. And so without all this work shown, your final answer should look 502,304. Now, if you want, you could follow the same model, where you kind of show your work and then you write it in standard form without any of the work, without any of the hints. The next number I want to give you is a little bit trickier. What if we do 15,060,007? 15,060,007. 15,060,007. 15,060,007. 15,060,007. So again, you might want to start by doing your millions, thousands, and ones, period. This is the millions, the thousands, and the ones. And in each of the group, there is the ones, tens, hundreds, or since I'm going left to right as I'm drawing it, it's hundreds, tens, ones. Ooh, that's a bad section. Hundreds, tens, ones. Shoot. Let me just extend that and put the comma here instead. All right. So the number was 15,060,007. So here you can hear from the beginning 15 million. So you will be having all of these periods filled in. 15 million. Now the tricky part about 15 million is, where does that go? Think about the number 15. 15 million. Just think of the number 15. The 5 is in the ones place, and the 1 is in the tens place. So if you look at 15 million, if I were to start it here, if I were to put 1 here and 5 here, then that would be saying 150, because this is the 100 millions. Remember, it's millions, 10 million, 100 million. So I'm actually going to start the 15 right here. And there's going to be nothing in the hundreds. Think of the number 15. There's 15 here, and there's nothing in the hundreds. So the number was 15,060,000. Again, you hear that 6, but where does that 6 go? It's 60,000. So where is 60? 60, if I were to write that number out, is again in the tens, the ones. The 6 is in the tens. So here you would put the 60 here. If you were to put the 6 here, that would be 600. If you were to put the 600,000. And if you were to put the 6 here, it'd be 6,000. So again, there's no thousands. There's no 100,000. It's 15,060,000, and at the end we have 7. We didn't say 700, so there's nothing here. We didn't say 70, so there's nothing here. 7. 15,060,007. If I were to write that without any of the, just to clean it up a little. Now here you can see you always need 3 numbers. So make sure that you don't have that 6 and that 7 just by itself, just because there was a 6,000, 60,000, and that 7 can't be by itself. But here, people are going to ask, how come there's no 3-digit numbers in the first period? The period closest to the left doesn't necessarily always need 3 numbers, but all the other ones do. So after that first comma, then all of them need 3 numbers after. Let's do one more. Let's do one more problem, and then after this, we're going to be doing expanded form and then hit the homework. So last number. Let's try to make it challenging. Sorry, I'm writing the number as I think first. The next one it will be 107,006,280. 107,006,280. 107,006,280. 107,006,280. 107,006,280. Here, I'm going to start by millions, thousands, ones. These are the periods themselves. Million, thousand, ones. Then in each of them, my hundreds, tens, ones. Hundreds, tens, ones. Or if I think about the other way, ones, tens, hundreds. 107,006,280. This time we do have something in the million, so we're not going to cross this out. We do need this. And it's 107. 107 million. 6,000 means we're at the next period and there's only 6,000. If you put the 6 here, that's 600. There's nothing there. If you put the 6 here, that's 60, but there's nothing there. It's 6,000, so it's in the ones place and it's in the thousand. Well, not the ones, the 1,000s place. So don't forget these two zeros. These are imperative. If you don't have them, then you will no longer have a period of 3. There's no hundreds, which means, and no tens in this 1,000 period. And last part, 107,006,280. 280 looks just like that. So hopefully you get a little bit comfortable with that. Last thing, like I said, I want to review is going to be expanded form, and then after that, we'll start the homework. Last but not least is kind of reviewing more expanded form. And so with expanded form, we're really going to have to know place value. So as I was saying, really knowing the periods will help when it comes to expanded form. So this first period is the ones. The next one is the thousands. We have millions. And here, when we're saying it, these are the ones. These are the tens. These are the hundreds. These are the 1,000s, 10,000s, 100,000s. The number here is the millions, or you don't say 1 million, you just kind of say millions. 10 millions, 100 millions. So the first thing I do when students are really struggling is making sure they know how to say each spot here. And each spot has a specific name. This ones, tens, hundreds. Thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. And so you see that repetition going. The only difference is when you see this 0, you kind of just say this person's name, the period's name. And then make sure after we say 10 here, it's 10,000 because this is a different period. And here, instead of just saying 100, it'll be 100,000. Likewise, 10 million, 100 million. So keep practicing that with your child, especially if they're struggling in this lesson. Ones, tens, hundreds. Thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. So each spot is really important. Let's take a number. Let's take a small number first. I'm going to start with 546, a 3-digit number, something that they've seen definitely by 3rd grade. And we're going to do expanded form for just 546. Now, expanded form wants you to break apart every single number that's not 0. So the first, and we're going to start from the highest, so the highest value, which is all the way to the left side. So we're going to start with this. Even though the number 5 is not bigger than the number 6, the value of hundreds is definitely more than tens and ones. I'd rather have $500 than just $6, even though the 6 is a larger number per se. So let's start with this. This is ones, tens, hundreds. And it's very important that you always label it to help when you're helping yourself or your child. So this is 500. The way that expanded form is going to work is that we're going to start with the parentheses and the first number, which is 5. That's the one that we're working with because it's the one farthest to the left. It's the one of the greatest value. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply it by its place value. Its place value is hundreds. Ones, tens, hundreds. So that's what we're going to multiply by. This 100 comes from this 100 right here. This 5 comes from that 5. You multiply 5 by 100 because that's where it's at. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to end with the parentheses, and we're going to do the same thing but for the next number. So the next number is going to be 4. And so we're going to start with 4. And we're going to have a parentheses before the 4. Again, we're going to multiply by its place value. What place value is this? Ones, tens. This is the place value 10. So we're going to multiply it by the number 10. We're going to do the same thing but for the last number now. That's not 0. So we're going to do it for the 6. So we're going to start with the parentheses, 6. We're going to multiply. And this is at the ones place value. So we're going to multiply by the number 1. Once we're done with that, we're almost done with everything. The last thing we need to do is just add these 3 separate entities. So 5 times 100 added by the 4 times the 10 added by the 6 times the 1. So inside the parentheses, we're multiplying, and outside at the end, we're going to add them all. We're going to do one more example before jumping into the homework. This one we'll do with, let's already go straight for the millions. So, first thing you want the child to always do is know these are the ones, thousands, millions. And under here, you want them to know ones, tens, hundreds. Ones, tens, hundreds. Ones, tens, and there is no 100, but we could just say nothing in the hundreds. Remember, on the far, far left, if it doesn't have a 3-digit number, that's okay, but everything after this first comma will need 3 digits. So let's look at what we did for the one above it. We started on the farthest left, which is the one of the greatest value. And we thought, hey, we're going to put that in parentheses. 3 goes in the parentheses, and we're going to multiply it by its place value. Students sometimes struggle with this part because they don't know the place value and they're going to guess. Don't let them guess. Start always from the beginning. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 million. So this is the 10 million section. So you're going to multiply by the number 10 million. Writing 10 million is exactly what you would think. It's 10, and remember, that's the millions place. There's nothing in the thousands place. Don't forget, you need 3 zeros, and there's nothing in the ones place. You know this is 10 million because this is the ones, thousands, millions. And there's 10 here and nothing in the other ones. 3 times 10 million. Don't underestimate the complexity of this section right here. Writing 10 million can be confusing if they don't know the difference between one with 5 zeros and one with 2 zeros and whatnot. Next section we do is start your next parentheses and find the next number. The next number is 0. We don't have to do it for zeros. So we could jump to the 5. So we're going to have 5 in the parentheses and we're going to multiply by its place value. And don't let them guess. And don't guess if you're the student watching this. Start here. Say it out loud. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000. So you're going to multiply by 100,000 and don't get scared of writing it. If you know that this is ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000, just think about how that number will look like. You said 100,000. This is just 100, so you know you need another place value. Ones, thousands, 100,000. It's exactly what you wanted. Great job. Now we're going to do the next parentheses. And it's okay if you go underneath. Are you allowed to skip this, yes or no? This 0. Yes, because it is a 0. So you go to the next number, left to right like you're reading. 6. 6 is the number we're working on, and we're going to multiply. 6 by whatever place value that is, and don't guess. Don't shout out answers. Just go from the beginning. Prove it. Justify. Ones, tens, 100, 1,000. So you're going to multiply it by 1,000 because it's in the 1,000. This is 1,000. That's just 1. We need 1,000. Okay? Ones period, thousands period. Now we go jump to the next number. It's a 0. We can skip it. Go ahead and go to the 3. So we're going to have a parentheses, 3 times whatever place value this is at. Ones, tens, and then this is just a simple 10. There's no 10,000, there's no 10 million. It's just a simple 10. And last but not least, we're almost there. We're at the 4, parentheses 4, and we're going to multiply it by this place value. 1. 1. Last step, in between these two, make sure to add. Make sure to add the next section, make sure to add the next section, make sure to add the next section, and you don't need to add the rest. There's nothing else to add. Mine looks a little sloppy. Make sure it looks more like addition and not even remotely close to multiplication. But we're ready to begin the homework. Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we're doing place value of whole numbers, lesson 1-2. Still looking at 5.NBT.15 representing 5th grade. Write the value of the underlined digit. This is asking for you to, you see this one that's underlined, the 6, they're asking you, what does that 6 represent? Because is it 6, is it 60, is it 600, what is that? So that's all they're asking. What's the value of that? And so what I want you to do to show some work, and you could do it other ways, but this is the way I want to show my work, is make sure by starting that this is the ones value, this is the thousands, oh, they do not give enough room, and this is the millions, not enough room, and underneath here it's the ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds, 1. So here you're going to say, all right, this is the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000, million. Before we worry about the actual final answer, let's do that one more time. 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million. They want you to stop right here. This is going to be the last time we do it, and we're going to stop when we get to the 6, and we're going to remember what we say. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. Let's write that out. 10,000. That's where we're at. Now, what value is that? That's the 6. So all they want you to do is say, what is 6 10,000? If you have 6 tens, those are 6 longs, that's 60, and then make sure you're in the 1,000 place value. So all they want you to do is write this into number form. 6 tens is 60, and 1,000 means you have one more period, because this is the ones, and this is the thousands. So your final answer is 60,000. We're going to do it one more time, and then, you can attempt doing 1 through 8, and if you have questions, you could ask me during class tomorrow. Here's the ones, thousands, millions, and I know it's tricky to read, but it's more so just understanding it for now. Ones, tens, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds. We're going to say the value of each section once, and then we're going to stop at the 8. So let's just practice. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000, millions, 10 million, 100 million. Let's do that one more time and stop at the 8. one, tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million, 10 million. Okay, we're thinking about 10 million here. And what's in the 10 million? The 8. What does 8 10 million look like? 8 tens is 80 million. And we just draw 80 million out. So it's 80, and then you have the thousands period, and then you have the ones period. So your final answer is 80 million. I hope that helps. Let's get number 9. Number 9 is a lot of fun. The form that it's in right now is called standard form because it looks just kind of like that. I was going to say the actual number, but I want you guys to think about it before I do. If we were to say this number out loud and write it out spelling it, then that would be word form. So the first form we're going to do is word form. So let's write this out. This is in the ones. This is in the thousands. So this is the number 15 because there's no hundreds in here. 15, what value is this at? 15,000. So that's the period, remember? 15,000. And don't forget when we write it out, we're going to have that comma. 15,000. And how do you say this? 409. And since it's only the ones, you don't have to repeat it. You only have to repeat it for the millions and thousands. So this is 15,000, comma, 409. Ooh, I messed up. I forgot to write that out. Word form, you have to write everything out, even the number. 15,000, comma, 15,000, comma, 409. Sorry that it's extra messy. Man, I should rewrite that. Okay, 15,409. The next form that we're going to do is the standard form, and that's the one that we kind of spent a little bit of time on just before the video ended. And that's when we're going to take apart every single digit here. So we're going to start with the 1 because it's the one farthest to the left, and we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply by ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000. So 10,000 looks like this. 10,000. Because this is the ones and the thousands place value. Then we're going to add it, or you could do the additions at the end. You could do the parentheses first. By the next one, the 5. And what are we going to do to the things inside the parentheses? We're going to multiply by the place value. So ones, tens, hundreds, thousand. So you're going to multiply by 1,000. Then we're going to do the 4. And we're going to multiply by this place value. Let's figure it out. Start from the right side. Don't take shortcuts. Ones, tens, hundreds. Then we're going to do the next one. You could skip the 0, so the last one is also the next one, the 9. And we're going to multiply by the place value, ones. That's our final answer, okay? Please do write a little neater. I apologize for that. But I am going to, good luck with 10, 11, and 12. I do want to touch upon the word problems because those are my favorites. The U.S. Census Bureau has a population clock on the internet. That's just saying this is like a special department, and a department is like a group of people or like a team. And what this team's job is to keep track of how many people are living in the United States, and to give a little bit more data than that, but that's the simplified version of it. Population is the amount of something, specifically people. So a population clock checks how many people are in the U.S. and in saying that it's on the internet is saying that they have there's like a website or something that you can see how many people are living in the United States. On a recent day, the United States population was listed as blank. Write this number in word form. So I'm not going to give you the answer for these. What I'd like to do is help you solve, to set up the problem. And so don't forget to show your work by telling you what periods this are. And then word form is going to be all in words. So say this number. Once you say that number, write everything you're saying out with letters, including the number.
And don't forget to put commas after every period. So between the millions and the thousands, put a comma. Between the thousands and the hundred, put a comma. Last but not least, in 2008, the population of 10 to 14-year-olds in the United States was this number. Write this number in expanded form. So this is the form that we did last on the tutorial video before doing the homework, which is the one with the parentheses, and then you multiply by the first number, which will be the 2, by its place value. Then you put the parentheses and you multiply the 4, because you don't have to do the 0, by this place value. Then the 8 times its place value, and so forth. I took a peek at the back side of lesson 1-2, and they are very similar to numbers 13 and 14. So just make sure to read through the questions carefully, and I look forward to seeing your homework. All right.